Hello there, I'm Jarrett Mitchell,
I'm Letty Jane Rennekamp.
and welcome to this week's edition of In the Shadow of the Wire. This week we're going to be covering the Florida Derby down at Gulfstream Park. This race,
Grade 1 event.
exactly, it's a Grade 1 event. They're running for $1 million down there, which is a lot of money for the winner.
So you know this draws the big dogs.
That's right, this is one of the toughest, I will say this is the toughest field of horses we've seen in a Derby prep race yet. Don't you think, Letty?
You mean that me and you have covered?
Yeah, that we've covered, yeah.
Because, I mean...
Yeah, not an all-time, but this year leading up to the Derby, I think it's the toughest race we've seen. And it's hard to say. A lot of these horses are coming out of the Fountain of Youth race, a prep race at Gulfstream.
This is something of a rematch. So we want to talk about a couple of those horses. I think Jarrett, he wants to start out with one of our favorites, or one of my favorites, I should say, Stormello, a real workhorse.
Yep, Stormello is tough. And Stormello has a tall order to fill right now. Stormello is coming off a second-place finish in the Fountain of Youth, where he was second place by a nose, and I got to say, he could maybe do it again. This race is the exact same distance. The only problem is that Stormello is teamed right next to Adore the Gold, another really big speed horse in this race. And Stormello clipped off some pretty crazy fractions last time out and nearly held on for the victory. And this time, I'm just not sure. I feel like Stormello being right next to Adore the Gold's going to set up just a little bit of a tighter speed duel than before. And I really kind of see this.
I just hope that Stormello outclasses Adore the Gold. I mean, every start is a graded stake since he broke his maiden. And I just think over and over again, he works hard. He gets up there. He places. He's in the money.
Oh, he'll be in the money, but I believe it's going to be in the third spot, unfortunately. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be right up there.
And who do you think's going to be in the one spot?
I'm looking at Scat Daddy, obviously, or my favorite in this race, Chaloki. The lightly raced Chaloki.
I've heard you talk about Chaloki.
Ever since the same day as the the Fountain of Youth, Chaloki ran an allowance race that day, and Chaloki got into a lot of traffic trouble that day. Still managed to win the race and run a 91 buyer. My contention is that if Chaloki would not have gotten in so much trouble that day, Chaloki would have probably run the best buyer figure of the entire day that day at Gulfstream Park, better than Scat Daddy or Stormello that day. So, in my mind, if Chaloki gets a good trip and the speed duel sets up for him...
Michael Matz.
That's right. Michael Matz knows how to train those horses. I don't know, some of you might remember a horse named Barbaro. He trained last year.
Who?
Barbaro.
Oh, right.
And so, personally, I feel like if Chaloki gets a good trip, it's good to go. I think it's going to come down to Chaloki and Scat Daddy and Stormello. That is my call, Letty. What do you say?
Well, I kind of like Notional here on the rail. He's won his past two races, both graded events, a Risen Star on the San Rafael, and he swooped in both of them, which I think is a good tactic for this racetrack and for this distance. So I think, plus he's got, really decent numbers. Stormello has beat him, but I don't know, he just wasn't up to it.
Stormello beat him on the poly track as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a tough... Stormello looked amazing in that race, and it's hard to discount him ever,
Yeah, so, of course, I love Stormello. He is a workhorse, and I didn't like him at first, but I've really grown to. So Notional, I'm not going to totally discount him. If I could play a superfecta, I'd maybe put him in there. Let's see if there's anybody else I really want to talk about. I just want to say, these horses on the outside, let's say Johannesburg Star, Bird is the word, they are going to have to run the race of their life to catch up with old Stormello on the front end or some of these swoop daddies here. So we'll see how it plays out. I really feel like maybe our good friend Matt Baker has something to say about I'm a Wild and Crazy Guy over there in the yard.
Yes, folks. I'm not in the yard this week, but I do want to say a few words in the house about I'm a Wild and Crazy Guy. Rafael Bejarano is a very strong jockey. He will be riding I'm a Wild and Crazy Guy from the 2 spot, which isn't really the best draw for trainer William Kaplan, but I think perhaps he might be able to swoop on down, as we say here, at the very end and might be able to come in first or second. I gotta say, Scat Daddy is looking very tough to beat in this particular race. Just really strong trainer in Todd Pletcher, and Edgar Prado is one of the best jockeys around. And it'll be a very exciting race. So there's some real speedsters, as was mentioned over here by my companions. I think, well,
we hope with such an even field too that people are gonna make money.
exactly.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's just such a strong betting race, I think. You know, if you've got an angle, bet it hard because, I mean, there's going to be, nobody's going to go off it any lower than, I think, 3-1. I don't really see how anybody is going to get away with 2-1 or, you know,
That's interesting you say
9-5.
because I do have a particular angle that I probably will be betting on Saturday.
Okay.
I think the 7 horse, which is a Nicholas Zito trained Boogie Bogs, ridden by one of my favorite jockeys, Joe Bravo. I mean, he's got the greatest name. He's coming from the middle of the pack. I think he'll be able to kind of neutralize the horses on his outside. Strong horses that just got unlucky and didn't draw a very good post. Johannesburg Star and Bird is the word. They're just not going to have much of a chance. But Boogie Bogs, I really think is going to go off at probably 15 or 20-1.
40!
Maybe 50 or maybe
90.
100-1. Who knows? But honestly, I'm going to put a couple of dollars at least to show on this horse. I don't think he can win. I don't think he can beat Scat Daddy or Stormello. But Boogie Bogs will be an interesting show bet that might be able to get you to win them, you know, a couple bucks, a couple $1,000. Just depends on how rowdy you want to get with your betting.
Well, man, I think I would like to say that this is the kind of race where you can get away with making a show bet because there's so many strong horses that no one horse is going to dominate the show pool. So I think that you can get away with making a show bet that could really pay reasonably.
That's a good point, but I personally, because there's not going to be a heavy favorite, there's going to be no 8-5s, 2-5s. I think putting a $2 win bet on the horse you think is going to win would be a pretty good strategy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or 20.
Yeah, exactly. If you just want to do small stakes, $2. But since we do this show for entertainment purposes only, we're just going to keep it down.
We just love the horses. We don't gamble.
No. I mean, that's just a degenerate way to completely disrupt the fabric of moral society. But, you know, that's another show.
All right, you guys.
I'd like to say one thing before we go, guys. I'd like to recommend to all of you viewers out there on the internet, this race is on Saturday. It's going to be on NBC. 5 o'clock coverage begins at Eastern Time. Go ahead and take a look and see what you think. And I'd also like to say at 2:30 on ABC Eastern Time, we'll be watching the what's known as the Dubai World Cup showdown between some of the greatest horses.
Great race.
Envasor will be running against the undefeated Discreet Cat. Yeah, Discreet Kitten. He's going to be a Discreet Kitten on Saturday.
One thing to note on the Florida Derby, it will be available live web stream on NBCSports.com. So if you don't have a TV, you can check that out as well.
Right.
It's
Thank
great.
you, Matthew. And until next week, you guys, win that money.